Welcome to the Bringing Intimacy Back show, where intimacy is real. If you desire to intimately connect with yourself, significant other, children, family, friends, community, and higher power, then this is the show for you. We explore intimate topics, inspiring life stories, spirituality, and insightful tips on strengthening relationships. The show is hosted by Dr. April and her co-host, Coach K. Let's get this episode of the Bringing Intimacy Back show started. We share with you today the secret power to intimacy to create the life you love or love the life you create. Now here's your host, Dr. April, and her co-host, Coach K.
Welcome to the Bringing Intimacy Back show, where intimacy is real. Welcome, guys. I'm so sorry I missed you guys last week. I was in a training dealing with trauma, which I will talk about on another show. So today's topic today is love is not a transaction. And we have a very special guest called Kim Sorrelle. And when we speak with her, it's just going to blow our mind. I know you guys are out there listening, and thank you so much for following us on Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn. I really do appreciate it because it connects us all. And the reason why I do this show is to help people connect, because in such a busy world with so much stuff going on and tragedy and trauma, that many times we feel all alone. And I don't want anyone to feel alone. So that's why I do this show called Bringing Intimacy Back. So one of the things we do every month is we highlight a charity of the month. And the charity of the month this month is Women Rising. Women Rising, because we're still in the month of March, is a great organization that assists women and their families to achieve what we call self-sufficiency, because that's really important. Even in the sense of connection, we gotta have our basic needs met. And so this organization called Women Rising supports women, their families, and moving us up and providing social services, economic development, and advocacy services, which is fabulous. So as I was saying earlier, I have a wonderful guest. And let me tell you a little bit about her before I introduce her. She is an entrepreneur, a director of humanitarian organization, an author, and a speaker. And she, as I talked about before, that in this world we have so much trauma. She has had some traumas of her own, and how she's taken that energy and created true meanings of love. And she's found it, and she's written books. And what she does is she motivates people to realize, this topic is, love is not a transaction. So when we come back, we're going to meet Kim, and we're going to get all into it. If you have any questions or want to comment, please do so, and we'll let you know how to get it in. All right, then. We'll be back in a moment.
Life can be overwhelming sometimes. We think we are a burden to others. We think that it's better to hide it and suppress our hurt, but it's not. As Cave Coral Therapists, we will provide you with quality, confidential counseling services in a relaxing and peaceful environment. Talk to a professional today. Book an appointment on www.cavecoraltherapist.com or call 239-565-6921.
Welcome back to the Bringing Intimacy show, where intimacy is real. Welcome, Kim.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for having me. I've been so looking forward to this, Dr. April, and here we are. We're finally here together.
I know. Yes. And thank you so much for saying yes. And I'm just so happy that you guys are here today. Yes.
Yeah. Well,
yeah. Yes. So what I ask most of my guests, this show's about intimacy, and many people have all these different definitions of intimacy. And it's really a word that it means a lot to me. So I love to hear from my guests. What does intimacy mean to you? And how does that relate to our topic today, that love is not a transaction?
Intimacy to me is letting people in. Letting people in.
Letting people in. Wow. I love that.
Yeah. I mean, when you have your guard up which can be so easy to do, right? It's easy to
Right.
be guarded, and if you've been hurt in the past and you don't want to be hurt again, and so you might let people sort of in, but not entirely in. But intimacy is just putting yourself out there, just letting people in.
Wow. Yes. Yeah. And so I was reading your background, and you met years ago this wonderful man. Yes.
Yeah.
And you let him in, and I think it was like he proposed like right away almost. So tell us about your love story.
Well, I was going to be the first woman president. Actually, that was my plan when I was in high school. So I had my life laid out. I knew what I needed to do, where I needed to go to school, and all of that stuff. And I wasn't sure that a husband and kids, if there was room for that,
Right.
in that goal. But I did know that if I ever met a man, he had to have two things. He had to be over 6 foot tall because my 5 foot nothing mom married a short man. I wanted to give my kids a chance at some height.
Okay.
And he had to be good looking because I wanted him to look good in my wedding picture. So obviously, very deep thinker at 17 years old. And May of my senior year in high school, in walks this tall, dark, handsome man who swept me off my feet. And 10 days after we met, I asked him to marry me, and he said yes.
Oh,
And
you asked him?
I did. I
Oh
asked
my
him.
gosh, I must have misread that. Okay, you asked him. Oh my gosh.
I know, right? Yeah, yeah. Kind of
You
crazy.
knew what you wanted.
Yeah, I did. I did. I mean, yeah, and against all odds, right? I mean, I was 17. I got married at 18. He was 22, so he was
Right.
old enough to buy beer, but
Right.
uh, barely. And so, but it was just, it was just right. It was the right thing. It was right.
Right, right. It was very intimate. I think
Excuse me, sorry.
many times people don't understand what that means.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I dated a lot in high school, and I uh, there was just something different about this man. There was just something so incredibly different about him, and I couldn't get enough of him. And it was just, and it wasn't like I planned out
Right.
asking him to marry me. We were actually making out on the couch, and it just seemed like the right thing to say. So no grand proposal, nothing like that. But anyway, he was a wonderful man, and I was very much in love. And it we grew together,
Right.
and it worked for us. It worked. It was great.
Yeah. So how did that experience teach you about love? It's not a transaction, because many times I do a lot of couples counseling, and it's like, well, she did this, and then if they do this, and if he does this, it's this if then. You know what I'm saying? It's like I say first and second grade stuff a lot. Yes.
Right. Yeah. Right. 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 Yeah. It's so true. Well, I decided I'd go on this quest to find the real meaning of love. I was diagnosed with breast cancer a few years ago, and 4 months later, that man of my dreams, he was diagnosed with pancreatic cancer and passed away 6 weeks after that.
Oh my gosh. So that's like two major loss, two major traumas, two major griefs. You know what I'm saying? Yeah.
Right, right. Yeah, and so then I was alone in my 40s, and I was never expected that. You plan on being 95 years old and sitting on rockers on the
Right.
front porch drinking lemonade and smiling at each other or whatever it is that 95-year-olds do on the front porch.
Right.
So this whole new life, and as I was trying to figure out this whole new life, it occurred to me that I loved my husband deeply. Like, we had a great relationship, and I know how to do it. I know how to do great relationships, but I wasn't sure that I knew the full meaning of love.
Mm.
And so I decided that somebody needed to take a deep dive into this, and it might as well be me. So I took 1 Corinthians 13, a 2,000-year-old poem. Love is
Yes.
patient, love is kind, does not envy, does not boast. I took it one word a month. And most of the time I was working on it, I was in Haiti because I was working
Mm.
at the time. And so it was very much a eat, pray, love kind of experience. And the things that I found out just blew my mind. And the fact that love is not a transaction is one of them.
Right.
We often hear love is a two-way street, or you're giving love to get love in return. You give love because you want love in return. But the reality is love is completely up to you, 100%
Right.
up to you. You have no control over what love comes back to you. When you bring home a baby from the hospital and you decide when the baby eats, you're in control, right? You
Right.
decide when the baby has a bath, when the baby goes to bed, all of that. But then 6, 7, 8 months later, all your Tupperware is all over the kitchen floor and
Hmm.
pots and pans are banging everywhere. You realize you've lost control. And I promise you, you never get it back again.
Right.
You have lost. So we only control ourselves.
Right. Exactly.
Right. So if we're giving love to get love, that's like me giving you money and you give me a pair of jeans. It's a
Right.
transaction. And love is not a transaction. Love is a one-way street. It is up to you, period. It is up to you to love. And expecting, that word alone is dangerous, right?
Right.
Expecting, to have expectations. But expecting love in return just leads to loneliness and disappointment and heartache, and because you're not necessarily going to get back what you think you're going to get back.
Hmm.
And so you have no control over what comes back, but you have total control over the love that you give.
Right. And the love that you give, it has to be about action. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. And that the love that you give, but the love you receive and the love that you give also should also be, like you said, with babies and other thing, unconditional is how when we talk about that full love and that spiritual, godly love is unconditional. And if we can give that to others.
Yeah, it's so funny that you mentioned that, because I was thinking about that just the other day, that we fall in love with somebody, or we say we're falling in love, or you fall out of love. And I just, even what I discovered, love is not an emotion like
Right.
fear or excitement, right? You don't
Right.
live in fear. You watch a scary movie that night, you hear every bump, every bang, you're afraid all night long, but you don't live in that. But you live in love.
Hmm.
Your love is who you are.
Right.
And then how you decide to show up with it is up to you.
Hmm.
But you don't hang it up when you get home, or anything like that. It is always it is who you are.
Hmm.
It's embodies you. And so what I was thinking about, though, is how people, when you find your one and only, whatever, and you get the butterflies in your stomach, and you just have just this beaming love, and you can't wait to walk down the aisle and say, I do. And you go on this great honeymoon, and then you come home and he leaves his dirty underwear on the bedroom floor. And all of a sudden you're like, why did I marry this barbarian? Like, what was I thinking? This is what he's doing. And then we feel like we're retracting love, or do we really love him? Well, he's not dirty underwear guy. He's the guy you love. You love the person, not the little actions that irritate you. You can not like those. That's fine.
Right.
But that shouldn't have anything to do with the love you have, because the love is for the person, not the actions.
Right. Right. I think sometimes that happens because many people sometimes don't even love themselves,
Mm.
or haven't been shown love in childhood. And so they come into these relationships, and like you said, they focus on these little actions. Oh, well, now I don't love him. Now I do, now I don't. And that's not how love works.
No, right. No, love is constant.
Right.
Love is constant and should be for everyone.
Right.
Certainly there's people that you're going to have deeper feelings for, but you should just love everybody. I mean, it's certainly the best way to live, is to love everybody, but you shouldn't withdraw your love. There's not a reason. There might be things you don't like. There might be people you don't like. You're not going to invite everybody over for Easter dinner, right? I mean, not everybody's going to be your best friend. And it's okay. Not all personalities go well together. Not all people fit well together. But love is different than like. So love is something that should always be there, that you shouldn't withdraw, that it should always be given.
Right. You know what I think? It's sometimes people think that love is like a pie, that there's only a limited amount.
Mm-hmm.
You know what
Right.
I'm saying? That I cannot
Mhm.
love more than one person at a time, or I've got to hold back my love to punish this person. And that's not, yeah. So
Yeah.
how in that journey did you um, encompass this and be able to share and teach others?
Well, as I was journeying, I was journaling. So
Mm,
I was writing, and I needed to do this journey for myself. Whether it ever became a book or it ever became anything, I needed to do it for me.
right.
But I was writing, and so I start out each chapter with what I think I'm going to discover, what I think it is, like patience, love is patient. We know what patience is, right? But then I end each chapter with whatever happens in Haiti. Like I was chased by a motorcycle gang. I got lost on a mile-high mountain. I slept outside with tarantulas. Anyway, and that brings me to the realization of what the love is, that word or phrase really means. And so it was a very interesting time. And the things that I learned just were so different than what I'd ever been taught. And so I now am passionate about sharing the things that I've been taught. But it was crazy, Dr. April, like from the very first month, like had I only done the first month, it would have changed my life.
Okay.
Because so love is patient, right?
Right.
Is the very first one. So I was looking for it everywhere. Love is patient, love is patient, love is patient. What does that even mean? And just trying to figure it out for the entire month. And then I had something happen in Haiti and I figured it out. And love that is patient is different than patience. We know what patience is. We're not
That is
honking our horn when we're stuck in traffic or mad because our 6-year-old can't find his shoes and it's time to get out the door for school, or whatever. But love that is patient is is different. When you love with love that is patient, you recognize that this is the most important moment of your life. This moment right now. What's in the past is in the past, and what's in the future is yet to come. With you loving with love that is patient, you are fully here for the person that you love, and which should be anybody, because you should love everybody. So you're fully present. And I'll tell you, I stunk at this. I was
Mhm.
horrible about it because I thought that I was listening, but
Right.
I could think about a meeting that I had later that day, what I needed to pick up at the grocery store on my way home from work, who had to get to soccer practice, whatever. I could be so distracted and think that I'm engaged, think that I'm there. And then I found out that that's absolutely not possible. And not only that, I was hearing things based on labels that I was putting on people. And love puts
Mm,
no labels on anybody.
mm,
Love has no labels. So, but that's what I was hearing, based on assumptions I was making. So I had to practice this and practice this and practice this. But when I got it, my ears opened up and I heard things I never would have heard.
wow.
Yeah. So love with love that is patient is being 100% there with the person
Mhm.
you're with at the time.
Right. And I was just thinking as you're saying, love is patient and being fully present. And then your experience in Haiti, where you had so much struggles, but you developed confidence and trust.
Right.
Yeah. And technically, faith and hope is great, but love is the greatest of it all because it can really, how can I put it? It can save you from fear,
Mm-hmm.
comfort you when you're distressed and hurt.
So
It's
true.
all things.
It is. It is. And it's coming to an understanding too of what it is, and realizing that maybe there's another definition for love that you never heard before,
Right.
that can do what you said and help with stress and depression and everything else. I mean, love does so much for you. And when you live it fully,
Mhm.
it changes your life.
Right. And I love how you said you need to look at all people with love.
Right,
How do
right.
you for those listeners who are out there who like, how do I do that when person A is different from me? Their political beliefs are different from me. Their religious beliefs, I don't even understand, or they hurt me. How can I look at everyone with love?
Yeah, well, there's kind of a couple answers, but one is that we are all different. We're all different, right? And sometimes you hear people say, "Well, I love everybody, but those darn Republicans," or "I love everybody, but those darn Democrats," right? Well, then you don't love everybody.
Right,
Then you don't
exactly.
love everybody. But I'm Kim and you're Dr. April, and that's where it is. We are individual people, and people might belong to a club, but that's not who they are. They're Kim and Dr. April and whoever, Mary and Sue and I don't know, whoever you are, you are. I think about like the Mona Lisa. If it ever went up for sale, I don't even know how many millions and millions of dollars someone would pay for it. And
Mm-hmm.
it's because it's a one of a kind masterpiece. And so
Right.
are you. There's never been anybody exactly like you. There never will be anybody exactly like you. You are the only you. There's something special and incredible and wonderful about that. There's something that is so great about that we need to embrace it for ourselves and
Mm-hmm.
love who you're created to be and give yourself the freedom to live who you believe you're created to be. And at the same time, then love goes out. And then you can love people. You don't have to like, but you can love people when you just recognize that, yes, they're unique. They're a unique individual. They're different than you are. It's okay for people to have different opinions. That's okay. Because as passionately as you believe something, they might believe the opposite equally as passionately. And you're sitting there thinking, hi, how can they be so dense? And they're sitting there thinking, how can you be so dense? Right. So it's okay to have different opinions because, again, we don't control anybody.
Right.
And love is your only job. It's your only job. You don't have to hang out with them, like we said, but just love people. Just love people. Let others be who they're created to be, just as they let you be who you're created to be.
Right. And exactly. And to also to further that, we can't control how we came into this earth. So I say to myself, I don't know if I had different parents or different, lived was born in a different way or time zone or whatever, or country, would I be that other person? Because we're all, yes, yes,
Right. Right.
right,
Yeah, because we're so influenced
right.
by the
We are
people around us, by the house we're raised in,
right,
by the schools we go to, by
right,
all of it. Right.
right, right. So the only thing we really can control in ourselves is to love.
Hmm. And it's universal.
Yes,
Yes.
yes. It's a language that through a look, through a touch, through a smile,
Hmm.
the other person gets it.
Right. Right.
Yes,
Smile. I love that. Smile. And we don't do that enough. Or, I say we, like I should include the world with what I don't do enough, whatever. But, there's something that's so disarming about a smile, a genuine smile.
mhm,
When you see somebody, whether you know them or not, a smile just brings a smile to your own face.
right, right. Which is, some people don't really, they just pass through the day, not look at anybody.
Hmm.
And
Right.
like, like they don't feel like, oh my gosh, I feel so empty. But when you look and you smile, how that puts it in the atmosphere. Yes.
Hmm. It changes things.
It changes everything.
Yeah. And you asked too about what about people who have done you wrong, right?
Yes.
How do you
Yes.
love them?
Yes.
Well, I'll tell you, there's a phrase in there that is love keeps no record of wrongs. And
Mm,
I didn't want to do this one. Like I put it off because I thought, you might forgive people, but you don't forget the things that happen to you, right?
right.
And so what could it possibly mean? Well, that particular month, I had a man from the US ask if I would show him this water project, if he could bring some guys over and they might want to be interested in Haiti. And I said, sure. So 8 men came over from the US and then 2 guys from Haiti, 2 of my friends from Haiti who were working on the water project came along with us to translate. And so we got to where we were staying. And it was this little tiny building with 2 rooms with 4 twin size beds in each room. And so 8 American men, 2 Haitian men, and me, right, in these 2 rooms. But we brought 2 cots and an air mattress along. So I'm thinking, we can rearrange things, we'll be okay. Well, the head of the American guys pulls me aside. Kim, can I talk to you? I'm like, sure. And he said, did you see the rooms? And I'm thinking, buddy, there is nothing else to see. And then I thought, he's asking me because he's going to think I want my own room. So I'm going to say, well, it's okay. I'll sleep outside. And he'll say, no. If anyone should sleep inside, it should be you. And then I'll say, well, I don't care if there's other people in my room. And he'll go, good, because there's only so much space.
Right.
So I said, well, it's okay. I'll sleep outside. And he said, oh, good. Because there are men on this trip that would not be comfortable with a woman in their room. And I'm thinking, what is going to happen in the middle of the night with a room full of people that you're uncomfortable? Like, wear something to bed, if that's what it takes. Don't go to bed naked. I don't know. I wear pajamas, but
maybe it's a culture thing. It was
right. Yeah. But I mean, they were Americans, and I
they were Americans. Okay.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
And so I said I would sleep outside, so I had to figure it out. So there was this piece of plywood held up by a couple wooden structures. So I thought, well, I'll put the air mattress under there, and at least I won't get rained on if it rains. But I was scared to death to sleep outside because there are snakes and tarantulas and chupacabras or whatever's lurking in the bushes of Haiti. So I was so afraid of getting maimed in the middle of the night. And so the first night I blew up my air mattress and put it underneath, and it held air for about an hour. And then I'm laying on gravel. Okay. And it was so loud because dogs were barking and horns were honking. And finally that died down sometime after midnight. And then voodoo drums started in the distance, and that went for a couple hours. And then finally I was able to doze off and get some sleep. So first night came and went. Everything was fine. Second night, same thing. I'm on the gravel, the dogs, the horns, the voodoo drums. Finally I'm asleep. But I woke up because there was something on my leg. And I'm thinking, oh my word, does Haiti even have the anti-venom to whatever it is that's about to bite me? Can I get airlifted to Miami to save my leg? Whatever. And so I slowly lifted my head and I slowly opened my eyes.
And what was
it? It was a chicken. There was a chicken on my leg. And I didn't know whether to be mad because it woke me up from the little bit of sleep I was getting, or happy because it wasn't something worse than a chicken. Third night came and went, everything fine. Fourth night, same thing, dogs, horns, voodoo drums. And again, I was sleeping and woke up because there was something on my leg. And again, I was scared to death. And I slowly lifted my head and slowly opened my eyes. And again, it was the dang chicken. And again, I didn't know whether to be mad or happy. But that night, we had chicken for dinner. So the fifth night came and went without incident. Everything was fine. And I got to say, at first I was bitter. I was mad at these guys. I thought, who treats people like this? Because it wasn't even like my gender. It was like subhuman, like the men get to sleep inside.
Right.
But, you lowly person, you go sleep outside. What is that about? Right. And I'm thinking, gosh, I hope my sons wouldn't treat somebody.
Yeah.
Right. And then I thought, bitterness only hurts me. They don't even know I'm mad. I'm the one that offered to sleep outside. Like, I shouldn't be mad.
Right.
And then it hit me. Love keeps no record of wrongs. I finally figured out what it meant. And what it means is that the narrative changes. You don't forget the things that happen to you, but the tone changes, the narrative changes. So instead of, God, these rotten guys that did this rotten thing to me, now it's just kind of this funny thing that I lived through, and I could literally sleep anywhere in the world and be perfectly fine. So we pick the narrative of our stories, of everything that happens to us. We choose the narrative.
Right.
People shouldn't control that for you. You control it.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's what love that keeps no record of wrongs does. It changes the narrative and changes it in a way that you can still love.
Right. It's about that compassion.
Yeah, compassion is a good word.
Yeah, and then yes, I love Corinthians 13. 2 Corinthians chapter, was it 13?
1 Corinthians, 13. Yeah.
Yes. I love that. It's actually part of I belong to a sorority, and that's the main thing that we focus on is that one right there.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah. And so in that it's about the compassion, like you were saying, looking at something with compassion. You don't keep right or wrongs, that kind of stuff. Yes, definitely. Wow. So
Yeah.
you've actually written a book or two books.
Yes. Yeah. So my first book, Cry Until You Laugh, is about, I started writing when I was diagnosed with cancer because everything I saw was either depressing or medical. And I wanted to know, are there choices? What does it feel like? What am I going to go through? And so I started writing then. And so I was still writing when my husband was diagnosed and after he passed and, whatever. So I wrote for about a year. And then my second book is based on this year-long, actually 14-month long, because there's 14 is's and isn't of love
Right.
in that chapter. And so 14-month long journey
Wow.
to discover the true meaning of love. And so that's Love Is. That's my
Right.
second
And
book.
how did that, I'm curious, in the sense of the first trauma of having cancer, how did you gain back loving your body? Because many people somehow get so upset with themselves, maybe even with God, when they get diagnosed with cancer in their body.
It's interesting because right away when I would tell people or people would find out, they'd go, well, why you? Why you? And my response was always, well, why not me?
Mm,
Why would I be immune? I do believe in God, but I don't believe in a God that is up in heaven and goes, hey, I saw that you stole that pack of gum when you were in 7th grade. So when
right,
you're 47 years old, you're getting breast cancer.
right,
I don't think that's how it works.
right.
And so nobody's immune. Like it can happen to anybody. So, the why me never existed for me
Mm-hmm.
because it's life. It's
Right.
life. It's the world we live in, right? And so that I think was part of it. And a big thing that I learned is there are things that you have no control over.
Mm-hmm.
No control. You have no choice. Like I wouldn't have chosen cancer. I wouldn't have chosen to lose my husband. I wouldn't have chosen those things. But there are things you do control, and there are choices you can make. And joy is one of them.
Mm-hmm.
How full you want to live, how happy you want to be. You get to pick that.
Right.
People don't get to pick that for you or shouldn't be able to pick that for you. You
Mm-hmm.
get to make those choices. And so I choose to make the best choices that I can
Right.
with the choices that I can make.
Right. Right. And it seems like, kind of going back to your original concept, you choose to be fully present.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because sometimes when people have been, they lose someone and they're grieving, they're like, I'm not going to ever love again. I'm not going to, you know what I'm saying? But
Mm-hmm.
they're stuck in the past and they're
Right.
so hurt that they don't want to open themselves up to the present moment.
Yeah, it's so true. Grief is such an interesting thing. I'm actually co-writing a book on grief right now. And you do see people that are kind of stuck underneath it,
Right.
just kind of can't get back on top of it.
Right.
And, it's not about getting over it
Right.
because you don't ever get over it.
Right. You never do.
Yeah.
Right.
But it's about getting back on top of it.
Mm-hmm.
And I think there are times when people feel like they're dishonoring the person they lost if they're happy again, because they should just live in this sorrow because they're so sad that the person's gone. But I think the opposite is true.
Right.
I think to really honor my husband is to be happy and
Right.
is to live fully and is to do whatever I can in this world.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. I like that. It's, with grief, you can honor people by loving in the present moment and showing
Mm-hmm.
up and being present. Because in some ways, we're all connected.
Right. Yeah. So true. Which I love that. Don't you love that?
Yes, I do.
Yeah. It's a beautiful thing that we're all connected. It's a wonderful thing. And I think we take it for granted sometimes, or we don't recognize it. We don't open our eyes to see it. And it's special that we're
Right.
connected and that we're here for each other.
Definitely.
Nobody's in this alone.
Yes.
It's good.
Yes. Yeah. And so then you also have two big media things that you connect with people through your show and your podcast.
Yes.
A little bit
I've
about that.
Right. I've got a podcast, Love Is Celebrity Interviews. I get to interview wonderful people. And, you know, I'll tell you, I don't know why I get to do these wonderful things, but I do, and I'm grateful. And then I have a TV show coming out. I was approached by a network to host a live weekly talk show.
Oh,
So
awesome.
So it'll be on Wednesday nights at 7:00 on different streaming platforms.
Right.
And it's called Heart and Soul with Kim Sorrelle.
Oh, wonderful. Yes. Yes. And you'll
Yeah.
be, of course, talking about love.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Yes. Yeah.
So if people are out there listening and they want to connect with you, how can they do that?
Well, I'm literally the only Kim Sorrelle spelled my way in the entire world because my last name's ridiculous. It has way too many letters, 2 R's, 2 E's, 2 L's, SORRELLE. But KimSorrelle.com is my website. Love is available everywhere. It's available on my website, but Amazon, brick and mortar stores like Barnes and Noble, different places. And so it's easy to find. It has a dark blue cover and big white letters. So, you know, it's not hard to identify. And I do love connecting with people. I've got a free 14-day love challenge on my website. And if you sign up for it, I'll send you for free a WWLD, What Would Love Do wristband.
Oh, okay. I'm definitely going to sign up. Definitely.
Yeah, because if you can answer any question that way, you know you're doing the right thing, right?
Right. If we come in with a conflict or we don't know what to do, what would love do?
What would love do? Mm-hmm.
That's beautiful, Kim. Yes.
Uh-huh.
It's been an honor to have you on our show. Yes. And thank you so much.
Well, it's been a pleasure to be here. I think you're amazing. I love your show. And I know you're doing so many wonderful things for so many people. And so thank you for all that you do.
Oh, well, thank you. All right. We'll be taking a break and we'll be back in a moment.
Improving intimacy, everyday expressions is all about you and your partner. Opportunities for intimacy are scattered endlessly within every second of life you create together with your partner. Everyday expressions will educate you and open your eyes to just how great your relationship could be with a little TLC. Improving intimacy, everyday expressions provides a true baseline for the strength in your relationship you've been looking for. Available in Kindle, Audible, and paperback.
Welcome back to the Bringing Intimacy show, where intimacy is real. Well, Kim was just so wonderful. And if you're out there and you're struggling, either in a relationship or maybe you're struggling with yourself or just struggling overall, love is an answer that can definitely help you. So definitely look for her book, Love Is, and definitely check out her website, just as she spells her name, www.kim, Kim, Sorrelle, Sorrelle. Okay, so sorry that Coach K isn't here this week, but she'll definitely be joining us next week. And we have some great upcoming shows coming up. So on April 6th, we have Spring Break Sneaky Links, which is we're going to be talking about people being on spring break and some sneaky things that happens when people are on spring break. Then on April 13th, which I'm so excited, we're going to talk about intimacy with self, spirit, and loved ones. And that's, of course, with Blair A.B. And then on April 20th, we're going to talk about spiritual intimacy, which is wonderful because April, we have a lot of different spiritual holidays that are coming up. If you're out there and, like I said again, you're struggling, one of the great things she talked about is just being fully present. And being fully present, guys, means to just fully be thankful, grateful, and love yourself, love whoever's around you, and your situation. Because with love, when you look it through that lens, you will have a lens of compassion. And when you have compassion, it opens up so many different opportunities that you may not have thought of in other ways. This has been the Bringing Intimacy Back show, and I'll see you guys next week. Bye.
Thank you for listening to today's episode of Bringing Intimacy Back, where intimacy is real. You can also find us at bringingintimacyback.com, LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and YouTube. Dr. April Brown's 7-book series, Improving Intimacy, is now on Amazon. We'll see you next Thursday at 3:30 p.m. Don't forget to follow, share, and subscribe.